So you mentioned that some wine regions, especially the classical wine regions, are pretty stubborn. What do you see how the wine industry is changing? Which wine region or country would you say that is coming up in, for example, in the next decade that can be in the legendary realm that is not in it right now?
It's very difficult to say because we just don't know what's going to happen in terms of global warming. So I would say, so I'm very excited about Germany. I think German red wines are already at a fantastic level, and I think they can go further. But obviously, at the same time, you have risk of it being too hot for Riesling. I think some countries such as Greece could be very interesting. I think Eastern Europe in particular, I think there's a lot of potential there, which hasn't yet really been discovered.
Happy to hear that.
I think... obviously, and Hungary, I've been to Hungary. I've had many incredible wines, and I really enjoyed what I tried when I was there. In the UK at the moment, it's quite difficult to get really anything, maybe apart from Tokaj. But when I remember when I was there, I absolutely loved Cape Francos, and I think it's really pretty. I really enjoyed trying it. So that's one of the things that one of the wines I keep looking out for, hoping it will kind of become more popular. I know you can get it here, and you can get Blauheinkisch as well from Austria, but it's kind of up and coming, and I think the whole region with more investment over the next 10 years, I think will be very exciting. I went to Georgia in Austria in August, and I had lots of really interesting wines, but I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them a lot, but I was never really amazed, and it was a bit of a shame. I really enjoyed the wines. It's a lovely country, really beautiful, food's great, and the wine goes perfectly with the food, but I was never like, oh wow. And I tried, from all ranges, I tried a huge variety of wine when I was there, just to try and educate myself a bit more. But having said that, I've tried the Zora wines from Armenia. And they are really interesting. So I think the potential's there. It's just maybe the winemaking they have to look to the more premium sector. And I think if you're concentrating on making wines which are more, kind of lower premium level, then it's difficult for you to actually escape that and go to the top. Yeah, so that will be interesting to see how it develops with time. I think one of the big problems we're having in the world right now is the heat. For example, Châteauneuf-du-Pape, I just don't drink it anymore. It's too much. I don't like 15% wines. I don't like wines at 14.5%. It's too much. For me, the perfect area is probably 13.5. And I think that's kind of like the golden part. So what I'd actually say is probably the most exciting thing to be looking at now is areas of France which previously were kind of ignored because they weren't quite warm enough for ripening, or they weren't quite suitable enough. And maybe the addition of some north-facing slopes where the sun is not quite as bright and things like that. I think that's really interesting. And as an example, I love Beaujolais. I think it's fantastic for one. I think that will come up greatly. I think there's a lot of potential there. And also...
it is, I would say it's already getting more and more popular.
Getting more and more. But it can...
it's not there, of course.
Yeah, it's not... It's getting there. I mean, it's a poor example, but anyway. But in Burgundy, for example, you have the Haute-Côte, the higher valley, the valleys on the other side. I think there are really some beautiful wines there. And there are lots of places where the wines are actually a lot cheaper still. And like Pernon-Vergelès, I think is superb value. Fissin, really good. Marsanne, they're a little bit cheaper than the main strip.
Yeah.
But provide really lovely experiences. So I'd be looking at those. And one other thing actually that really interested me was I was in Malta and I tried quite a lot of wines and I was amazed by the alcohol content. Malta is a hot place. Very sunny. Yeah. But they had Cab Merlot blends which were 12.5%.
Wow.
I mean, I asked how it was so low and they didn't really have an answer. So I don't know, maybe they just didn't want to talk to me. But I was really surprised by it because I thought so hot, like surely you're going to have quite cooked fruit, but it wasn't. It was fresh fruit, nice acidity, good balance, and low alcohol. So maybe it's. I think they use pergola systems, and I think obviously there's a lot of influence from the sea breeze, which presumably cools the vines down. Yeah, but also maybe the fact that actually their growing season starts a lot earlier. So they've got hotter weather from much earlier in the year. It's undisturbed, it's long, and they can harvest in the start of August. So perhaps
there are lots of
that, but it really interested me.
There can be lots of influences. Also, maybe as far as I know, the photosynthesis actually stops at over heat. So maybe it's too hot and the ripening kind of slows down, and maybe that affects it. So it's over the limit, but the sea, the breeze as well can influence, and obviously viticulture, how they manage the vineyard. Because in Europe, where we experience these hot vintages, the problem is that the vineyard and the vineyard management is quite hard to change the pruning system.
Still doing
from one year to another.
Still doing a lot of green harvesting as well, which just doesn't help. You get too much concentration in the berries, too much sugar.
Yeah, but it's a difficult question, because without it, obviously, with too much green harvest, you increase the concentration of sugar, but you also increase the concentration of other compounds. Without the green harvest, maybe the sugar content would be on a better level, but the complexity would lack.
Yeah, I have thought about that as well, but at the same time, if it's generally warmer and you've got a longer ripening season, you've got longer time on the vine. I don't mean like completely stopping green harvesting, but maybe just not quite as extreme. And then it would maybe preserve it. But I think the south of France really needs to be very careful, because you're getting Hermitage at 15%, Châteauneuf du Pape at 15%, and it's that's not sustainable, in my opinion.
But also the grape varieties of their own is not really helpful. With Syrah and Grenache is crazy. So maybe with the cuvées they can like play a little bit more, but it's difficult. So we are going north and to the east maybe. This is also interesting. You mentioned going with the north-facing slopes. This is also was a definition when I was at the beginning. Even when I was a child reading viticulture books, the first number one important rule that the slopes should be south-facing slopes. That's number one. If the slope is not south-facing, then you have a problem, especially in Europe. And now it's changing. So this is another example of not staying up to date and
and I think it's
no exact rules.
I think it's important to kind of take all use everything at your disposal. Try different things, try and adjust and expand, and I think there's so many things that we can do slightly differently in order to preserve that traditional style of wine that we're so used to without losing it, which I think we are at risk of.
Yeah, we have to do our best. Thanks for watching this video. You can watch the full podcast episode by clicking here, or watch another interesting video by clicking here. Let's continue the discussion in the comment section, and see you in the next one.